so many people just run on autopilot every single day. They don't even realize every single day they're always in the same shitty mood. They have the same shitty attitude towards life. And it's like, all you have to do, this sounds like fucking some type of shortcut, is really just set the intention and then follow through with that intention. Right?
Regardless of how you feel.
Regardless of how you feel.
That's the important part.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode number 64 of the Conscious Cast. I'm your host, Cal, along with my other boy.
Yeah, they can't see it from your angle.
Along with my other boy, Mr. Jason Scalora. Say what's up, my man.
What's up, my man?
So, yes, guys, we had an interesting idea of standing.
Cal had an interesting idea of standing in here.
So listen, we have this like little awkward energy going on because it's like, it's a little, okay, at least I feel a little bit of like an awkward energy, you know, because it is different from how we normally do our, you know, our cast, you know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that is how we felt when we first changed seats
exactly. So I think this could be like an interesting type of, you know, style, and we'll see where it leads us.
Yeah,
but
well, it brings you to the point of like, it's like changing your environment, even slightly, will greatly change how you feel, how you think, your conditioning. Like everything changes. Yeah. It's like a good example for me is like on each floor of the residence building that I live in, there's a study room. Yep. And I did my content. I used to do all my content in my room. But I realized after reading Atomic Habits that when you condition yourself to, after you do a certain amount of things in a certain place, you condition yourself to be in a certain mindset in that place, right? So if you always do, you know, reading in your bed and sleeping in your bed, then you have this sort of like sleepiness, relaxed calmness to you every time you're in your bed, subconsciously or consciously. Yeah. And so every time you go to your bed, if you're going to do content, your homework, anything that you need to do that's rigorous or whatever, that's not the place to do it because you've conditioned yourself to be in a different state of mind. So for me, I went to the study room on my floor, and then I started studying in there and doing content in there, and it was crazy because when I study and do content, I need to be in this extreme, like, let's get after it mindset of extreme focus, phones on the table, I'm not looking at anything besides what I'm doing, and I created the study room as this new conditioned area where I could just get after it. Yeah. And so that's a big tangent of just like, if you find yourself in a stale perspective of like, you're not being creative, you're not coming up with new ideas, switch up your environment and it'll change your conditioning.
Yeah, because the biggest thing I think about that is a lot of times people, and like, whether it's be in the spiritual community, whether it be in just like the self-improvement community, it's all an inner game, right? And so they say, no matter what like is going on out there, you should have full control of what's going on in here, right? And so on that basis, a lot of people misinterpret it as like, oh, and like lead into the scenario that like, oh, I'm perfectly fine, right? And in my room, right? I don't have to leave my room in order to get a different type of effect. Like, no, so if I leave my room, I won't have any type of different effect, right? And so, but even though we may consciously think that and really believe that, right? Like you pointed out, if you go to a different area, say the library or the caf, or, you know, just a different location from where you're normally used to, I guess you could say working, doing schoolwork, right? And a lot of people in the bodybuilding community say this as well. Christian Guzman, he owns his own gym, right? Right. But he's like, he sometimes goes to commercial gyms in order to reinvigorate himself and just throw himself into a different type of environment in order to have a better workout, right? Because at the same time, when he's in the gym, constantly, right? In the same gym, he doesn't go as hard, right?
So what were you getting at with the whole spiritual, like,
sorry. Thank you for putting me back on track. With a lot of people misinterpret like spiritual, or there is this, I should say, common notion that a lot of people misinterpret that it's all an inner game, right? No matter what. And like your external environment has no effect on you, right? It's not a factor, right? And so people, like I was saying before, will consciously believe that leaving their room will have no effect on them, right? So they should just go within themselves and, and I guess you could say reevaluate their own beliefs, values, and like core tendencies, right? But in reality, and what's actually true is exactly what you pointed out, right? It's not that it might just be that you have to reevaluate your own values and beliefs, but it's just like nature versus nurture, right? It's not one or the other, it's a mixture of both, right? Sense. And so if you start, like I was just saying this to my friend today, like, you know how rainy it was outside today. It was like the first time it's rained like this in months, like a long time. And I was telling my friend, I was like, dude, it's crazy how much the weather has an effect on your mood, right? And like I've like it was cool for like a day, like I was like we were talking about yesterday, like felt so cozy, you know. Like I felt like, but today I'm just like, ugh, like can we bring the sunshine back, right? Because the environment has effect on your attitude, and I guess you could say your own behaviors and how you act on a day-to-day basis, 100%. Whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, and if you have any sort of control over that, you should take control over that. But there's a willful ignorance that a lot of people live with, that where they think they're invincible to the idea of where you are is going to influence how you are, right? So a good example is like if you have PTSD with some sort of terrible traumatic event that had happened to you, right? Maybe it happened in a certain room in your house. Maybe it happened in a certain place. Maybe it happened in a certain car with a certain smell, with a certain person. Or here's an even better one that I think a lot of people can relate to, especially if you're over 21 and you can legally drink alcohol. There's a lot of people that have a thing called taste aversion to alcohol, right? So you'll go out one night, you'll have a couple too many drinks, and those couple too many drinks will come right back up in the toilet later on in that night. And that specific alcohol, you will never touch again for the rest of your life. And just the smell of it, or the thought of it, or seeing somebody else order that drink gives you that fucking feeling of like, God, no. But the same thing applies to your environment in which you work. Because if you put yourself in a certain environment of, okay, when I'm in the kitchen is the only place I eat. When I'm in my bed is the only place where I sleep and I do nothing else. When I'm in my study room is the only place where I study and do my work. Then those environments now are conditioned through your actions, through the repetition of your actions of, this is how I feel when I enter this room, and then it puts me in a mindset of I'm going to do these things in this room, right? And in Atomic Habits, that's how James Clear explains it, and he says, if you're the type of person that doesn't have maybe the financial means or the whatever your situation is, where you don't have the access to all these rooms or specific spaces that you could designate, you could divvy up your own one room in these little spaces of I do this here, I do this here, I do this here, right? Don't sit down and scroll on TikTok at your desk. If you are going to procrastinate and do whatever, do it on your bed, right? Don't have your desk area be some place where you condition yourself to be lazy or to not get after it or to be in a certain, laxed mindset, right? And the best way of like tangibly understanding it is whatever you do, put yourself in a mindset of this is how I am every single time I sit in this chair. And if you leave that mindset, leave the chair. Let that chair have its sacred energy to it so that every time you sit in that chair, you're conditioned to think a certain way.
Yeah. And I think a big point there too is like a couple things. One, you're designating that location to what exactly you want to do within that location, right? 100%. So, and I think also too, it's important to point out that if you let's just say you want to start doing homework on your bed, right, or like just somewhere like that, or you're at a certain location, whatever your current programming is and conditioning for that, like whatever location it is, you have the ability to change that conditioning, right? Because you, through your conscious mind, can this may be a little bit harder for me to say, and it's like it's way easier said than done, right? But if you start to, I think it really, like what you pointed out there was, it's really about that intention that you set, right? It's really about that mindset that you have going in, right? So whether you're gonna so when you go into let's just say you want to start doing homework on your bed, right? And then you start to get tired, right? That's your normal conditioned response towards when you're in that location, right? But let's just say you want to start doing homework on your bed. I think if you go in with the mindset, and this is probably not the best analogy I could use, right? But I think it also does display what I'm trying to say as well. Is if you're starting to do homework on your bed, right? And you're sitting on your bed and you start to get tired, but you still just have that conscious mindset of continuing to do homework, eventually, and at least I believe, that will eventually change, right? And eventually, over time, as that becomes a habit, however long that takes, 3 weeks or fucking 9 months, whatever, you know? And once again, this is not to say you should start doing homework on your bed, and most likely you will fall asleep because you sleep there, right? And so this is, once again, not the best analogy, but we're rolling with it. But I think over time, you will begin to change that, right? And so I would say my question to you is, what things in your own life have you recognized in like your external environment that you've been able to, I guess, you've recognized as conditioned, right? And you've been able to change it. Like, I know that's kind of a vague kind of question.
No, it's a good question. Yeah. I think Because there's a bunch of obvious answers of like, I only eat in the kitchen. And that's one thing that I really try to do, especially when I'm at home. At college, it's a little bit harder because you have your one room, whatever. Yeah. But a more abstract thing that I think, and I found this to be super helpful for other people in their relationships, especially in your intimate relationships, is when there's a debate, I never have a text. There's never text debates anymore. I don't do that because in one of my relationships, what I realized was, and this is a multivariate problem. This isn't one thing of like, you're having the problem because you're texting. No, there's a bunch of different factors. Maybe you're miscommunicating. Maybe you can't read the tone. Maybe you can't read body language over text. So what I found myself doing with my ex-girlfriends was we'd always get into an argument. It would always be over text. Yeah. Every time. Yeah. It was like, why are we always, whenever there's a small little debate, why does it always turn into this big forest fire when it's on text rather in person or on FaceTime or on the phone? And I realized it was because I couldn't express my ideas correctly over text. It needed more contextual information. You needed to see my facial expressions. You needed to see my body language, my tone of voice, certain pauses that I'd have. You need like what she couldn't feel was the level of empathy and love and care that I had in the debate that we were having. And so when it was over text, it got shitty so quickly, right? And so to answer the question, what I realized was I had a certain conditioning over time of every time we texted, there was just tension, just tension. So I created a new rule for my relationship, which was, listen, anytime we're texting, it's just surface level shit. Yeah. That's it. If we're going to have a conversation and it's going to be deep, or it's a debate, or there's an argument, or there's something that needs to be settled, it's over the phone or it's in person, or it can wait. Yeah. We're not texting. We're not doing an argument in class. We're not doing any of this bullshit that you see all these relationships have because it needed more context. But as a result of us consistently arguing over text, what had happened was every time I texted her, I felt shitty because every time we texted, it was combined with this shitty, like, conditioning of like, we text and we argue, we text and we argue, we text and we argue. So then texting created this new environment, right? Like if you do your homework in bed, you're going to hate doing homework because you're going to be exhausted and it's going to be such a drag because you've conditioned your bed as a place for sleep, not work. Yeah. Right. So then you condition yourself of you pair homework with your bed. Now you're fucking tired as hell doing homework and you resent it. Right. Really but if you were to start doing homework at the desk, not at the bed, you wouldn't resent it nearly as much. And in the same sense of if you were to start arguing in person over the phone, you would have a much better experience texting. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Oh, dude, totally. I think that's beautiful. Like, dude, and like your location isn't just like a physical area, right? And that's like, that is a huge point, right? A location can also be where you're positioning your response, 100%. Right? And I guess in more broader terms, where that response is located in. So whether that, I should say your location conditions your response, right? And so whether it be texting on your phone, right? And you're constantly texting while you're arguing, right? Right? That, and most times you're arguing while you're texting and you're getting this shitty feeling, right? And just like you said, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. When you're texting about types of things like that, it's always going to elicit that kind of negative response and that kind of shitty feeling, 100%. Right? But if you change the location, it'll change your response, 100%. Right? And this is a big thing too, because and a big thing we advocate on this channel, right? You're always in control of your response.
Always.
Is that the case though? When your environment
well it
elicits a response. I think they're joined together. I think you have more control than you think you have, but I think also too and this is saying regardless of external factors. Right. This is just saying like you have all your resources and opportunities met, whatever. Yeah. On top of that. This is saying like in a situation where you have the ability and like there's no external factors like, you know, really getting in your way. Right. I think it's 80 to 90% you control your own response, right? And then that last 10% that has an effect, and it might not be this type of area of black and white, but I think it's also the external environment as well,
dude,
too.
If you can make it easier for yourself, make it easier for yourself. If it's hard as fuck for you to have an argument with your intimate partner over text, have the debate over the phone. Yeah. It doesn't have to be some sort of shitty argument every single time because you can't actually have any context with the words that you're saying. Yeah. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy to have the argument over the phone, but it will certainly be easier than doing it over text like you have been doing. Yep. Right? Or a different example is with your bed and the homework. it's not going to mean that it's going to be easy to do your homework and that it's going to be a pain-free process if you do it at your desk instead of at your bed. But you give yourself a fighting chance by no longer choosing to do your homework in your bed and getting yourself in this tired state of mind before you need to put in the work. Because now you're in a position where you've conditioned yourself to be in a mindset of work rather than a mindset of sleep, and it makes it easier, and it makes you have more control, right?
Yeah.
But choosing to do otherwise is choosing to make it more difficult for yourself because you have control to a certain extent, but choosing your environment is one of those things that you can control to make it easier, right? It's not like since you choose to do your homework at the desk instead of the bed, now it's going to be a fucking brisk-free process. That's not what either one of us are suggesting. What we're saying is give yourself a better chance of enjoying whatever it is that you're doing because you're primed for a different state of mind, right?
100%.
That's pretty much what I was getting at.
No, and I agree 100% too. And it's I forget what we were talking about. Oh yeah. This was a while back, and it was like I think it was it the priming episode? You were like where like you pretty much just get all of your things out before the day, right? Or before you start the next day, right? And you start packing. Frictionless. Yes, exactly, right? You remove all these. You make it as
That's so funny. The second you were talking about that, I thought about what I just said, and I thought, oh my god, that's the same concept as frictionless.
Yeah. I was just like, you make it as frictionless as possible, right? And it doesn't mean there won't be friction, right? There still will be friction, but there won't be nearly as much friction if you choose the right environment that will help you elicit the right response,
100%.
right? And that right response is, in addition, you choosing the right response as well too. And I think that last 10%, it should be one of your life goals to, I mean, it's not that black and white, but to try and diminish that 10%, no matter what environment you're in, right? And of course, there's environments that, are fucking shitty, like that you can't, like that will elicit a shitty response. But that last 10% you should try to diminish that to the best of your ability.
100%, dude. Well, it's like, and for those of you that don't know what making your life as frictionless as possible means, here's what it means essentially, right? Make your life frictionless, especially in the morning. When you go to bed, before you go to bed, every single night, lay out your clothes, have a schedule for your day. If you can't have your breakfast ready, have it ready. Have everything laid out so that the only thing you have to do is brush your teeth and take a shit. That's it. So then you can actually go throughout your day and have everything just flowing. Because if every morning you wake up, you have all these decisions to make, all of these things to debate on, you have to pick, am I going to wear this? Am I going to wear this? Am I going to wear that? Like, it seems like such a small thing, but until you start living that out, it makes the biggest difference. The biggest difference, right? Because let's say, for example, you want to wake up at 5 in the morning and hit the gym. If your only decision is wake up or go back to bed, rather wake up, pick my outfit, get ready, make my bed, do all these things like that I need to do versus I just need to brush my teeth and go pee and then leave. It's going to be two very different outcomes because you give yourself more of a fighting chance to actually follow through with what you were saying, with what you want to do. What the hell was I getting at before I explained that?
Well, I think you were just giving context for frictionless.
Yeah, but then I was going somewhere with it. Either way, that's what frictionless means.
Yeah, and it's really about making those decisions before you have to actually make those decisions, right? And I think that's what that made me think of, right? So we've done a whole episode on priming, but why not talk about it here? It's really about setting and this goes hand in hand with what we were talking about earlier, choosing a different environment, right? Like, say to yourself, I'm gonna go study in the library tomorrow instead of studying on my bed, right?
100%.
See what happens. I bet something different happens, right? And who knows? You might be more productive. You might hate it, but at least you know, right? Like, try a different environment. Try another one, right? Like, of course, like, there's not unlimited environments, right? But, like, just try different things, and you'll get different results.
I just think, I don't know. For me, like, here's a good example. It's like, even last night. Last night, I was working till midnight, so then I ended up going to bed at, like, 1:30 in the morning. Yeah. And so I was like, damn, I got to get up at 9 to start my day and get things going. But I was, like, tired, and I just knew, like, waking up was going to be kind of a bitch just because like I was exhausted and I could sleep probably 12 hours at that point last night. And so I woke up at 9, at 1:30 in the morning when I was about to go to bed, I realized I needed something to kick me going in the morning. I was like, because I knew the second I woke up and turned off that alarm, I was going to want to go straight back to bed. So I did everything in my power to make it as frictionless as possible. So literally last night, it sounds crazy, I opened up my phone so that, and I turned it off so that when I opened up my phone the next morning, immediately the YouTube video that I wanted to play, the podcast that I knew was going to get me fired up, all I had to do was press play. I had my AirPods sitting right next to it. I had this shaker bottle right here with the caffeine packet ready to go and the water bottle ready to go. Like literally just so that I didn't have to reach to get the water or open the cabinet to get the caffeine packet or turn on my phone and look for a video. Like I just knew that if I had all those things ready to go and if it was as frictionless as possible, that's when I was going to get the result that I wanted to, which was actually waking up. Because I knew that, okay, I have everything ready to go. I don't have to make all these decisions and get more and more tired in my mind. So I can just wake up, pee, and leave, right? And so it makes your life a lot easier, especially when you have the opportunity to go back to bed, when you make your morning as frictionless as possible.
Yeah, and it saves you time, right? And when you have those decisions, when you make those decisions the night before and you do the stuff that you do ahead in preparation, you set the intention, right? You'll save a lot of time and you'll be granted new opportunities, whether that's 5 minutes to meditate, whether that's 5 minutes to read, 100%. Whether that's 5 extra minutes to eat, go to class, or just, take a shit, whatever, It's like, if you're able to prioritize priming, right? And prioritize setting the intention, like consciously setting the intention. And oh, dude, it's like so many people just run on autopilot every single day, right? They don't even realize, like, it's in every single day, they're always in the same shitty mood. They have the same shitty attitude towards life, same shitty attitude towards homework. And all these are like whatever, in their life. And it's like all you have to do, and this sounds like fucking some type of shortcut, is really just set the intention, right? And then follow through with that intention, right? And of course,
regardless of how you feel.
Regardless of how you feel, right? And
that's the important part.
Regardless of how you feel. And of course, this is not like a one size fits all thing, right? And it's not necessarily going to be there's going to be levels, right? To how much mental energy and exertion and friction that you feel, right? But if you just set that intention, follow through with that intention, regardless of how you feel, it will be more frictionless. What? No. It'll be less frictionless, right? And
no, more frictionless, but you keep
more. Okay, yeah. It'll be more frictionless, right? And you'll be able to move ahead and start developing a habit that you've always wanted to implement.
Well, it blows my mind when you talk about stuff like that. It's like people really don't understand of like, a good example, if you hang around people that complain all day, all they do is talk shit about other people, gossip, involve themselves in drama, and you really think that that's not negatively affecting your mental well-being, you're fucking crazy. You're actually out of your mind. I meet people all the time that say that, all the time, because it's one of the biggest things I preach, because it's the most important thing. If you're hanging around people that gossip and drama and talk shit, you are going to be way more miserable than you have to be. But it's scary to distance yourself from friends because they're your friends. Maybe you rely on them. Who knows? You have your reasons, and I get it, and I have empathy for you. But if you actually want a higher quality of life, you really need to reevaluate how much time and who is getting your time. Because if you are spending enough time with people that are consistently filling your brain with complaints, thinking negatively, thinking pessimistically, involving themselves in drama and bullshit, you are going to be shifted in that direction. I don't care who you think you are. I don't care if you think, no. Every time they say that, I immediately go in my brain and I'm like, nope, not involving myself in that. All right. Literally, unless you're literally just staying in the space with them and you have earbuds in and you don't hear a word they're saying, you're fucked. If you're paying any conscious attention to it, right? You're involved in that, right? You might not be speaking in that gossip, right? But if your friends behind you are chatting shit and you're interested in it, that's conditioning your subconscious mind, right? And there's different. It's okay. Like if you're in an environment, like for instance today at work, and if you're watching this, I love you people. But like, I was editing, and then out of nowhere, two coworkers behind me just started. I mean, like they were pretty justified in their like talking shit, but like they just started spewing shit that really wasn't moving towards a solution. You could tell they just wanted to complain to each other, right? And they just wanted to release energy, right? Which to some extent is okay, right? But
At the same time, no, because there's
Okay for who? Okay for who?
Yeah, no, it's
Right.
because it's. I guess the argument there, I don't know, a real side note is it's better for it to be released than kept in. But if you're able to keep it in, right, observe it and let it pass through you, that's how you really want to deal with it, right? But those people don't know how to do that, right? So their healthy alternative, and I guess in their minds, is to release that, just like talking to a counselor, just like, and of course,
100%.
it's not that black and white, but like I was saying, I was just like editing, right? And then out of nowhere, behind me, they just started chatting shit, right? And I'm like, ooh, like,
Yeah.
this is interesting.
It's so attractive.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, oh, let me just turn around and like, like,
Yeah, fuck that guy.
no, and I got involved in the conversation, and I was just, I wasn't like spewing shit, right?
Right,
I
but
wasn't
you get
like
sucked in.
exactly, right? And of course, like I like being involved in conversations. I like being involved in those type of conversations, but like you said, I really got to be very mindful of. Maybe I should get up and use the bathroom the next time, right? Or just like leave because there's going to have an effect on me, whether I know it or not.
100%. If you even think maybe for a second that you spend too much time hanging around people that complain and gossip, try out this exercise. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to remove friends from your life. But the next time you're around your friends that you think gossip, keep a mental note. Have that in the front of your mind. Monitor it when you're talking to them. Count how many times you hear them gossip or complain about something. Just count it. When you start paying attention to that shit, it's gonna be fucking insane, dude. Insane.
Yeah.
And then what's gonna be ironic is you might forget it. Maybe it'll drift off in your mind during the conversation. You're gonna notice yourself talking a hell of a lot more shit than you thought you did.
Yep.
Gossiping a hell of a lot more than you thought you did.
Yeah.
And that shit is killing your well-being.
Yeah.
It is killing your well-being.
Yeah.
Because if you take a look at the happiest people that you know, truly happy, not bullshit happy, not body positivity happy, not look how ripped I am happy motherfuckers, they don't talk shit about anybody ever. Even when they have the most justifiable reasons.
Yeah.
Even when people fucking shit on them and rain on their parade and ruin their day and make their life as hard as possible, they do not talk shit about those people because that is what's best for them, not for the asshole that ruined their day. Because that's who is the most happy people, like Joe Iacovelli.
Yeah, I was
Good example
thinking of him, yeah.
Dude, you will never hear Joe talking shit about people.
Yeah, literally, man.
You will never hear Joe talking shit about people. Joe is the happiest guy I know.
Yeah.
You think that that's just by chance? No.
Yeah.
He consciously chooses not to talk shit about other people. Yeah. And as a byproduct of that, you realize, every time I'm around Joe, I just feel way happier and better. Yeah. Wow. Crazy. Have a conversation with Joe and then have a conversation with somebody else and see how often they're complaining versus Joe. It's not a fucking surprise. It's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
Stop complaining. Stop complaining. Stop bullshitting. Stop talking shit about other people, even when it's justified. That's the big asterisk here.
Yeah.
Even when it's justified. Even if you fucking cancel on me last minute and now I have no plans for the rest of the day, or I was supposed to go out to dinner or whatever.
Yeah.
Do not complain about that person because it's a toxic drink that you're drinking. Not because, not that it's going to harm them or because fuck them, whatever. It's justified. Sure. Great. I don't care. If you want to be happier and you find yourself feeling miserable all the time, stop complaining and stop hanging around people that are complaining so much.
And that all comes, this comes full circle, baby, right? You do not care, right? And you've got to condition yourself to not care, right? And you have to choose that response, right? And it's not to say that you're going to suppress any of the emotions. You're going to be like some fucking nihilist walking around douchebag, right? Like, no, you're going to handle it in a rational, proactive manner that takes all the emotions into account, right? And you're going to respond in a way that doesn't escalate, right? But de-escalates the situation in a way that's preferable for you and for other people, right? And so on that basis, you can start to close that 10%, right? And start to choose the environments, choose the responses, right? And not put yourself in shitty situations like almost every human being on this planet has been in. So with all that being said, hit that button for me, my man. Love yourself because I love you.
Stay handsome.
We're clocking over you. Peace. I fucked up a little bit, but
That's all right. Stay handsome.
all right. Yeah, we're good.